My favorite time of year is the fall TV season. That's when you get all the best pilots. And what goes together better than fall TV and vampires? Nothing. Today we're going to review Let the Right One In on Showtime. So if the title of this show sounds kind of familiar, that's because there are actually a couple other movies with the same exact title. The first one was in 2008. It was a Swedish movie. And then there was a remake for an American version a few years later. And now we have a show of the same, it's the same story. It's a 12-year-old girl who is a vampire, befriends a boy of the same age who is kind of an outcast in his community. And her father is trying to keep her alive and find a cure for her so she's no longer a vampire. Now, this show, it's always important when we talk about vampires that we know what rules they follow, because everybody makes up their own rules. It goes all willy-nilly whenever we do a vampire show now. And what I like about this show is it follows the rules pretty strictly. Vampires don't go out during the day. Vampires have to drink blood. Those are actually the two basics. We don't really know a lot about how she turned. There's a big emphasis on trying to find other vampires while her dad is furiously trying to save her life so she doesn't have to hide any. It's really important that they nailed the main character. So Madison Taylor Baez does an amazing job in the first episode as Eleanor. She has to capture that vicious, bloodthirsty vampire, and she needs to feed. And they show that in the first episode, while also maintaining the sweet innocence of a 12-year-old who makes it hard for the audience they want to love the vampire, but they also don't agree with what the vampire is doing. So there's that really tug and pull of what's right and what's wrong. It's really blurred because the father is in charge of feeding his daughter. And I'll let you use your imagination on what that means, or you can just watch the show. One thing I found interesting was that they moved to New York City because they thought they could blend in better because of all the people. And there's a lot of crime going on all the time already. So maybe if something happens while they're there, no one will notice. I thought that was kind of a clever plot point. This is all set at night. The sun, remember, is our enemy. And there is the sun comes up a few times in this show. And I've only watched the first episode. I'm really hooked on this show already. Excited to see where it goes. What makes this even more complicated is the boy she befriends' mother is a police officer and also their neighbor. So it's going to make for some tense episodes, and some questions are going to be asked. First of all, why doesn't your kid go to school? This is the vampire story that I really like. This doesn't get caught up in some of the, more of the teen vampire stuff. For instance, I did start watching Vampire Academy this year, and I have since stopped watching it. There was not a review because I didn't really like it. That is not the kind of vampire stuff that I like. I am also watching Interview with the Vampire, which is different because that's set in the 20s. So this is more in the modern time. And I like that there's not vampires everywhere. This is really just one vampire trying to figure themselves out. So it's kind of almost a coming-of-age story, although we don't know how old she actually is because we see, because they do follow the rules. So she was turned as a kid. So I believe that means she stays as a kid. I guess that's to be determined. I really can't think of any flaws in the first episode. If you like vampires, this is for you. Watch it. The only thing I can think of is if you don't like gore, there is some blood. It's not like a gore fest, but it is a vampire movie, so you're going to see some parts that might make you a little squeamish. It's not scary yet. The tension hasn't fully gone up. You really, I love the daughter-dad relationship. Maybe that's just the parent in me, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with that. So I'm actually going to give this first episode. This is I've been watching a lot of pilots. I haven't reviewed all of them yet. I wasn't sure which ones I'd review first. Then I watched this one and I was like, oh, I'm going to start with the one that I like the most. So far in this fall TV season, of the things that I've watched, Let the Right One In is my favorite new show of the month of October. So I'm going to give this an A. we're going to give it the gambit paw of approval. Now, make sure after you watch my video, you go down, hit that subscribe button. Let me know, what is your favorite vampire show? What's your favorite vampire movie? What's your favorite vampire thing that's come out in the last 2 months? Because there's been a lot. I love talking about vampires, especially this time of year. And I hope that when you watch my video, you're going to actually find something to brag about.